Hi everyone, my name is Lauren, and for my narrative interview, I have interviewed Chelsea Cook, who has fully consented to participating and has allowed me to present our interview for this assessment. Chelsea Cook is a graphic designer by trade. However, she now works at Canva and has been since 2019. Her current role is the design lead for content strategy at Canva and has just returned to work from maternity leave due to welcoming her first child in 2021.
My role at Canva is not a usual one. So it is the design lead for content strategy. So all of our creative content library, I lead up the strategy for what we acquire, what that should look like, what the quality is, how it should be surfaced, how it should be used, all of those things. So yeah, strategy lead for content.
Chelsea's career timeline started when she graduated from UAW with a degree in graphic design over 10 years ago. During and after uni, she was an unpaid intern for Sunny Life, before becoming hired out of uni to work for Sunny Life in new product design, where she was one of the first creators of the infamous Pool Flamingo floats. She then began to work at Canva, where she started right at the origins of the platform, with a proper employment in 2019, and she is now the design lead for content strategy. When asking about Chelsea's main career turning point, she stated that the main thing she could pinpoint is how her career has gradually changed over time, rather than one impactful moment that changed her career. Chelsea specifically mentions how the development of technology has significantly affected what her career looks like and how it has been a long-term career turning point during her whole 10 years of being in the industry.
10 years ago when I started, an iPad was really expensive. No one had them. Laptops were slow and expensive as well. I think now when I'm working on personal jobs, I don't sketch on pencil and paper anymore. I sketch with a pencil brush in Procreate. Even now, there's a way better understanding of what you can do technology wise. Your opportunities to design in 3D, like you can get a 3D printer at the palm of your hands these days. When I was working in physical product design, the difference between like now and 5 or 6 years ago is massive. But working at Canva as well, designing for multiple screens, designing for multiple countries, so different. It's crazy.
In the previous slide, Chelsea is seen externalizing her conversation while she is speaking. This quote helps to show the process of Chelsea reflecting on her past experience of what her work was like prior to more developed technology, and is baffled by the sudden realization of how much technology has changed and how it has impacted her career. Chelsea is unknowingly utilizing Michael White's technique to assist her in explaining how the ongoing advancement in technology has been a long-term turning point for her career. Chelsea's values of inclusivity and diversity are shown through her explanation of a diversity campaign strategy that Chelsea was the leader on creating.
We had a lot of feedback about the lack of diversity in our library and the lack of diversity in our content, so our templates, our photos. So we decided to tackle it head on with a really big budget and some really big focuses around making sure that diverse content was displayed and represented in our library, but it was also created by the people that stand for that type of that subject and that issue. So we collaborated with a lot of artists all over the world, created specialty content, making sure that they felt like they could be seen and they could be represented in the product. We delved into a big project, tore apart our library about what are our search gaps, what are we representing, what are we not representing, what can we move forward in, what can we do better in, and then the product improvements and the data improvements have just become a standard in what we do moving forward.
During this conversation, I used double listening, and it became obvious to me that Chelsea is being absent but implicit to her value of diversity and inclusivity. Chelsea is using her experience of making sure Canva content is diverse and that she provides opportunities to a diverse range of people to provide meaning to her value. Although the value and level of importance that diversity and inclusivity has to Chelsea is not specifically stated. This quote allowed me to recognize that this is an important value for Chelsea to possess in the workplace. When reflecting on this quote, it showed me that during this experience, Chelsea is ensuring her club of life is filled with people that align to her values. In order to make this happen, she collaborated and worked with people who also share the value of providing diversity. This part of the interview showed me that this is an important value for Chelsea and that she is willing to change those involved in her club of life in order to meet that value. In this section of the interview, Chelsea mentions how often her honesty can be a blessing and a curse, but it all comes from how passionate she is towards her career.
I'm pretty frank. I'm pretty honest. I've learned how to put that out there in a way that's appropriate for the situation. But I find that that's really important. It's important to my process and important to the work that I work on. I make sure I'm always passionate about what I'm working on and where I'm working and who I'm working with. And I think when you're passionate, you have to make sure that what you're doing is right to you. And so for me, it's probably a strength, probably a weakness at times, but being really frank, but learning how to use that honesty as well in the right way.
From this section, it is clear that honesty is an incredibly important aspect for Chelsea, as it displays her passion for her work. During this conversation, Chelsea is practicing externalizing conversations as she then reflects that her passion, leading to honesty, can sometimes be a difficult value to navigate. These quotes show how Chelsea is able to come to the realization that her value can be both a blessing and a curse, as she has had to navigate this value in many different situations. Using outsider witnessing, I was able to reflect on this notion of how not all values are going to align to those you are working with. This is something that I picked up on during the interview that I found very interesting. As I'm a very direct person, I can relate to Chelsea's experience of realizing that it is important to think about others you are working with when trying to relay your value of passion and honesty. As with confusion in tone, it can come across as off putting and can lead to negative relationships with peers.
As a designer, you're going to have to be multifaceted. You're going to have to prove that you can work with different people, you can collaborate, be multidisciplinary, and you're open to those types of opportunities. As a designer, you're going to need to be able to design video, animation, being engaged in, as I was saying, artificial intelligence, so AI, being engaged in those developments and making sure that you have personal values. I think that's going to be really important in the next 10 or so years, but being able to work with artificial intelligence and know what's going on in that world, knowing how to use it to your advantage, speed up efficiencies, create things that have never been created before, use it responsibly, that's going to be a really big turning point for the industry.
Whilst listening back to my interview with Chelsea, I have been able to use outsider witnessing, which has assisted me in discovering how much I relate to Chelsea's experiences, as although our career path is not exactly the same, both of our careers need a high level of creativity, which is where I think Chelsea and I are very similar. Chelsea and myself are both in jobs where the digital landscape and artificial intelligence is leading the way, and that we need to learn how to work with it rather than against it. We were able to use these shared experiences to guide the conversation, where Chelsea's values and thoughts directly correlated with my own, which allowed us to bond through these shared experiences.